Hello and welcome to 2015. Happy New Year! How are you? We're great here at Scotch Whisky Auctions. This is Big Peatrie here again with Peatrie's picks. Just a quick roundup of some of our favourite bottles here in the auction. We're going to take you through them very quickly, let you know what's in the auction, which goes live tomorrow, the 46th auction. First up, what has caught our eye quite literally this month is the work of Warren Kong. Warren Kong is a Singaporean artist who has done a lot of work with Maison de Whisky. He's been involved with Maison de Whisky since 2011, and you'll see a lot of his work on the Kurosawa bottles. You know how much we love the Kurosawa here at Scotch Whisky Auctions. So this one here, this lovely image for this bourbon cask Kurosawa, quite an interesting bottle, 43 years old, bottled at 63%. Warren is probably more famous for his work featuring female face, and this one here, this lovely kind of almost comic style image on this bottle here, and this is of a Glenlossie. 25 years old. You don't see an awful lot of Glenlossie bottle because the vast majority of it goes into blends. But it's great whisky, that's why it goes into blends. It's good stuff. This is 25 years old, aged in a sherry butt from a distillery that it didn't appear out of thin air, it was built in 1876 in response to the phylloxera epidemic, which destroyed the vineyards of France, which meant that brandy was no longer available, and Scotch whisky filled that void, and well, it's the reason we're here today, basically. So shame for France, wonderful for whisky and for Glenlossie. In terms of eye-catching detail, photography, art, Macallan have got to be in there. Their Masters of Photography series, we've got in Annie Leibovitz and Elliot Irwitt in this auction, really did seem to catch the imagination of a lot of people with these wonderful images from Rankin and Albert Watson, capturing the essence of Macallan, the essence of the spirit. And what we've got here is a limited release one of only 500, and this is from Daido Moriyama, and this was released to coincide with Daido Moriyama's 75th birthday. This one here, the Macallan was chosen because it's number 75 on their colour scale, one of the darkest Macallans they've ever released. First fill sherry cask, bottled at 58.9%, and this remixed was available exclusively through Asia Travel Retail. Wonderful blending of art, the distiller's art and the art of photography. In terms of dark, interesting sherried whisky, we once again go back to Gordon MacPhail. You always, with us here at Scotch Whisky Auctions, we love the Macallan. We love Gordon MacPhail. They're almost endless conveyor belt of wonderful, rare whiskies. And this one here is a Linkwood, distilled in 1954, but bottled in 2010. Over 50 years in the cask. This wonderful whisky has waited patiently for you to win it in an auction and then drink it, or to take care of it, look after it, save it for the next generation. It's entirely up to you. I'd love the chance to try this cracking whisky from Linkwood, the distillery that's often called the blender's favourite. It's a distillery that gives complete lie to that phrase, blending fodder. Linkwood is at the heart of so many blends because of its wonderful style, and this one, a great chance to try something very rare and quite unique. Very rare and quite unique? Very unique. And unique's are one thing. In terms of uniqueness, Glenfarclas don't do cognac casks. Sherry casks are what they're famous for, but here we have a 43-year-old Glenfarclas, which has spent its entire life in cognac casks, bottled at 40.7%. This is very different, way out of Glenfarclas's comfort zone, but the results are spectacular. Great whisky, and what we like about this one is we love the pictures, the artwork that's gone into these first three bottles here. This is very much just letting the liquid inside the bottle do the talking. Glenfarclas, lovely, simple design on the work and the label. They don't need to shout, they don't need to have all these colours because they're such a great classic distillery. And this is a chance to try a very different face of that distillery. In terms of different, bourbon doesn't get the chance to get aged much. Kentucky's awfully hot, things evaporate. And you come across very rarely things like this. The old Rip Van Winkle 23-year-old, this is one of only 1,200 released. It was released at 57%, which is a bit unusual. The first time that they had ever released whisky at that percentage. It's non-chill filtered. We know that most bourbon is because they like to put ice in it, and if you do that it goes cloudy and it ruins the appearance. This cask strength, non-chill filtered, one of 1,200, specifically chosen by Julian and Preston Van Winkle. A rare collector's item. This decanter, some glasses, this lovely wooden box. A great and rare chance to try one of the real heavyweights of the bourbon world. And if it wasn't for great heavyweight bourbons, we wouldn't have the Scotch industry the way it is today. And I've already mentioned phylloxera before, which leaves the Scotch whisky, lets Scotch whisky rise to prominence. And if it wasn't for bourbon, we wouldn't have the casks to age that whisky in. So with this lovely, all these different parts of history all coming together to allow us to try these great, tasty whiskies, bourbon really has to get a look in. Now, in terms of bourbons, this next one, the A.H. Hurst Reserve, has some of the most amazing reviews that I've ever read. This one here, the story is quite well known. In the spring of 1974, in Schaefferstown, Pennsylvania, a small distillery went out of business. Some casks were saved and bottled. The whisky was bottled straight away. Others were aged in Kentucky. And when they finally bottled it, 16 years old, the reviews were stellar. The demand was high. One of the more calm and level-headed reviews that I've read described this as simply the greatest bourbon in the history of the world. Big claims, one would say, but it seems to back it up. The quality of this particular bourbon is amazing. And this one, with its gold wax seal, is the second release. This has been jokingly called the most expensive bourbon you'll never taste, but you have a chance to taste it because you can win it at the auction. These are the ones that have stuck out for us this month, the ones that have caught our eye. But this month, the quality is incredible once again. We have over 20 whiskies that are over 40 years old. We've got an amazing range of lost distilleries that you can get your hands on, taste that liquid history that I've been talking about before, as well as a great selection of drinking drams. So ladies and gentlemen, please, when the auction gets live, get in there, have a look around. You're bound to find something that arouses your interest. So ladies and gentlemen, get in there, have a look around, and remember, don't lose your bottle.